I'm moving temporarily. I am relocating for the next 2 months to get a bit of a change of scenery, change of environment while I go through a transition phase. I recently quit my job and don't have any obligations in the area where I live until December, so I'm going somewhere else for a little bit while I look for a new job. While I am there, I am hoping to do some artistic professional development, take some courses, maybe find an internship or a shadowing opportunity, write, and read. Obviously, I'm not going to have access to my entire personal library while I'm gone, so instead of doing what I usually do and just picking the next book that I want to read based on vibes, I had to come up with a syllabus. Now, I will only be gone for 2 months, but I have, when I'm not super busy, have been consistently reading about 3 books a month, 2 to 3 books a month. So I'm planning on bringing 7 books with me. 2 of them I've already started, and 1 of them is a novella. So hopefully I will be able to make it through all of these. I'm staying with a very generous friend who is letting me live with him for free. And obviously he has books of his own that I can borrow should I feel so inclined. Anyway, the point of this video is, what am I bringing with me? What is my fall reading plan? What's on the agenda? I tried to have a little bit of a theme, and maybe the theme will not make sense to other people, but it makes sense in my head. Going for sort of a theatrical, witchy, dark academia sort of thing. If we had to put a bunch of buzzwords on it. Really, it's just things that are fall-esque, maybe a little spooky, maybe a little academic, that sort of thing. Hopefully it will be made clear once I go through the list. There is one outlier, but it is a book I already started that I'm going to be bringing with me. So we have 1 wild card. And you know, let's start with the wild card. Why not? So my wild card, which I did talk about in my last video that I am already in the middle of, is The Language of Food by Dan Yurovsky. It does not fit the theme, but I have already started it. It's the only nonfic I'm bringing with me, and I figured if I already started it, I should probably finish it. The second book I'm bringing, and the first one that's actually on theme, is The October Country by Ray Bradbury. We all hopefully know who Ray Bradbury is. Fahrenheit 451. Presumably you've either read it or read it in school. And if you haven't, change that. It's one of my favorite books. Bradbury was also a prolific short story writer, and this is a collection of fall-themed short stories. As a known sci-fi boy, I obviously love The Martian Chronicles, so I'm excited to read a bunch of short stories that are a little bit of a different flavor. It's about to be October next week, so now is in fact the time to read this. So this is coming with. The third book, and the other one that I've already started, is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is where we're getting into the dark academia side of the theme, the theatrical side of the theme. If you couldn't tell, If We Were Villains is about a bunch of college students who go to a conservatory who are in their 4th year, and a crime happens. Probably someone dies. I don't know, I haven't gotten there yet. As a theater practitioner myself, and as a Dead Poets Society enjoyer, this seemed right up my alley. And for the most part it is. Except for the small idiosyncrasies of the theater world that M.L. Rio gets wrong that really bother me. I don't know if you could tell, but I am someone who gets probably too hung up on minutia, and when small details about the things that I consider myself to be extremely experienced in are wrong, it gets on my nerves. Especially as someone who does a lot of stage combat. The so far 1 stage combat scene in this book really grinded my gears. M.L. Rio studied in England, and there is a different stage combat society and pedagogy that exists in England, but the book is set in the United States. So if she learned things about stage combat in the UK, and this is what the teaching is like there, it's not correct here, and it's also just not right. She just said things that, like, I don't know everything. I'm not the expert on stage combat, but there are some things that she said that I don't understand how they could be true in any pedagogy. And I've also been known to say things are blatantly wrong, and then I find out later that, oh no, this other way of thinking actually says that it's right. So maybe I'm wrong in this instance, but as far as I know, and as far as I could broaden my mind and open my mind to possibilities, I don't see how what she wrote could be correct. But other than that... Quick addendum that I completely forgot to add to my rant, because I just must have blocked it out of my mind because it was so egregious. In stage combat, when you replace the sound of someone being hit by making a different sound, like if you slap someone in the face, a noise happens. Obviously on stage we're not actually slapping people in the face every night, so you pretend, but then you have to add a replacement noise. In stage combat, this replacement noise is called a nap, but it is spelled K-N-A-P. Miss Rio, the whole time, spelled it N-A-P, which is just not right. Simply not at all correct. Anywhere. Not right at all. If you do stage combat in England, and they spell it N-A-P in England, let me know. Tell me if that's how they do it. But as far as I know, as far as I'm aware, and I could look this up, but I won't. No, I probably will. As far as I know, no one spells it N-A-P. You know what? We're checking now. We're checking now so that I know that I'm right. Because I'm right. Nap. Now what happens if I look up N-A-P? No. Anyway, as far as I know, no one spells it like that unless you've only heard it spoken and no one spelled it to you. So my theory is that Miss Rio took like one workshop, one time, which is fine. That's allowed. That's encouraged even. It is good for more people to know how to do stage combat. That's important and good. But what I think happened is she took all of her workshop knowledge, her singular workshop knowledge, and ran with it and didn't double check any of the jargon, any of the terminology, any of the vocab, because Miss Thing spells it N-A-P the whole scene, and I almost had to put the book away and down forever. Like, I almost just stopped reading it altogether because I was so furious. But that's a me problem. Fully a me problem. But can you tell I'm a pedant? Is it obvious that I'm a pedant? Anyway, back to the video. Other than that, it's been a great book so far. You know, I love Shakespeare. I love being pretentious, and boy are these characters so pretentious, so they're just like me for real. So we will be finishing this in the coming months. In that same theatrical vein, the next book is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is on the theater side of the theme, but this is about a traveling troupe of actors in an apocalypse or in a post-apocalyptic situation. I don't exactly know what this is about, but a lot of people have recommended it to me, and on a trip to the bookstore, it was just sort of in the display right as you walked in, and I took it as a sign, so I picked it up. So I'm excited to see what the deal is with this one, but I am never opposed to reading another book about a bunch of actors. On the other side of the Venn diagram, the other circle of the Venn diagram that makes up what If We Were Villains is about, if on the one hand you have theater, and on the other hand you have dark academia, then this is the dark academia book of all time, allegedly, according to everyone on the internet ever. And so my next pick is, in fact, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. If you're at all interested in books and are on the internet, you know what The Secret History is. A bunch of classic students and murder. I don't know actually what it's about. I just know I spoke too soon. I don't actually know what it's about, and I am the demographic I'm talking to. A psychological thriller, according to one of the quotes on the back. Love that. Love a psychological thriller. Love dark academia. Love a bunch of pretentious classics students. What could go wrong? I have been meaning to read this for a while. It's been on my shelf for quite a while, so I am using having a limited stack of books that I'm bringing with me as my excuse to make myself finally hunker down with this one. So I'm excited to get into it. I lied a little bit. There is one more sort of kind of outlier. I'm not really bringing any, except I guess for Station 11, but that's more apocalyptic than sci-fi. I'm not really bringing any sci-fi with me, which is unusual for me. Usually I have at least one on hand. But the novella that I mentioned earlier that I'm bringing is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. This is the sequel to A Psalm for the Wild Built. It's about a monk who goes off into the wilderness and meets a robot, and now they're adventuring together after they met each other in the first novella. This one I'm bringing because it's short. It's hopefully going to be sweet. The first book was really cozy. I think this one's going to be also pretty cozy. So less fall specific in terms of topic, but definitely fall because it will be a cozy thing to read. And I think fall is the time to have your cozy reads. Winter probably also, just because you're cooped up inside, but I don't know. I mean, also with like it's an orange and like green and blue cover. I'm manifesting that this is a fall book. And lastly, rounding it out with another collection of short stories, we have 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart by Jenna Rose Nethercott. I love short story collections because you can just sort of breeze through them or go through them in any order. I know that this one is about a bunch of creatures, and I think that's fun. She has another book called Thistlefoot, which is about, like, children who live in Baba Yaga's house. I don't actually know. I read the summary and it didn't really call to me, but this one, bunch of spooky short stories about a bunch of fairy tale creatures. I'm in. This is a fall book, and I'm in. Like, I literally just flipped to a random page, and it was the first page of a story called The Autumn Kill. Come on. How am I to say no? There is a part of me that thinks, oh, I should bring something, like, reference-based. Like, I have a copy of Meditations. I have a bunch of reference books about herbs and plant life and things like that. I have some poetry books. There's part of me that's like, oh, I should bring some of those as, you know, art fodder, reference material, things to use as writing prompts. But I might just stick to using my surroundings, trying to scour my friend's apartment, see what he has. And I'm not trying to overpack too much. I'm gonna overpack. I'm driving to my destination. I will be overpacking. That's a promise. But I also know that because I'm spending 2 months there, I'm not gonna go to a bookstore, right? Like, things will be coming into my life while I'm there. These are just facts about me that we all have to accept. So I think I'm gonna leave it with this stack, plus one book that I'm bringing my friend that I said he could borrow. But yeah, this is very different from how I usually read books. I usually just like to see where the vibe takes me, just go based on impulse, what I want to read next. So it'll be interesting to have more or less a set curriculum or reading list for the next 2 months, obviously with the option and opportunity for other things to be added or borrowed or anything like that. Yeah, a little bit of an experiment while I go on this grand adventure of resetting. So, cheers to a fall full of reading and a fall full of new adventures. I did just realize that this sticker is not actually, like, embossed onto the cover, which sometimes it is, and that drives me fucking crazy. So this will be coming off as soon as the camera turns off, because I hate these.